Nice to see you're looking forward to it. Hi, Anaya. Vivala Vida. Hi. My name's Fola, and I'm excited, to be sharing with you guys today a little bit about the upcoming challenge that I'll be hosting next week and to answer any questions you might have around that fear of being seen, really stepping into like your truest self, that self-expressive self that wants to be like you were as a kid. I am sure, like many of you, this was the case. And share a bit about my story. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I will do my best to get through them. I have some cards here too, so we'll see if cards are necessary to pull and get some kind of spiritual guidance. But bear with me. I've been feeling kind of under the weather this week, just starting today. So I'm like, oh no. I'm here though, because I feel this is really important. And that fear of being seen is something that I have carried for like basically my whole life. And I think for many of you, the same, whether you are a spiritual entrepreneur, someone who is identifying as a creative, a YouTuber, an artist, musician, as humans, we are these soulful beings, we are these light beings, and we go through life. And as children, it's like life has infinite possibilities. And we realize that, and we want to experience it and express ourselves the way we feel called. But as we get older and these experiences happen to us that sometimes aren't so savory, we can start to like dim that light that we are. And yeah, for sure, this was me. For me, a lot of that dimming of my light was around the magic. Growing up in a really religious home, being told that ritual and all the spiritually curious things that I felt pulled to were wrong or evil or demonic. And so I hid away. I didn't share my voice. I didn't want to share my truth, or act in a way that felt aligned to who I be, whether that was to overshare or undershare and be quiet over in the corner. If this is resonating for you at all, let me know in the comments, because the main thing I'm learning lately is that when we share our stories, when we talk about what's been going on, it helps to normalize those experiences for other people. You start to know that you're actually not alone. And this fear of being seen is like rampant everywhere. The holding ourselves back from really truly being ourselves is so, everyone experiences it. My partner was just telling me yesterday, Michael Fassbender in an interview was sharing how the feelings of unworthiness and like not being good enough show up for him. But the thing he noted that was really important is that those feelings tend to go away when we're like doing the things that we love. So when he's acting, when he's on, behind the camera or in front of the camera, I guess, doing that thing that he loves, it's almost like those feelings fall away. And I would say I noticed that, like coming on here today. Hi, Raz. Hi, Venkatish. Hello. Being on these lives, it's like sometimes I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. And other times it's very clear. The main thing, that anxiety, the anticipation, excitement shows up. What I've learned is it's not so much an anxiety, it's more like anxious excitement. We are touching on something big within ourselves, something's going to come through. And as we go through, as you continue to practice showing up as yourself, you will find it becomes easier and easier. New challenges start to show up. That whole idea of like new levels, new devils. But for myself, I think it's been like 6 years now, maybe this YouTube like sort of experience, or 5 years. Yeah, I think it was 2020. I never thought that this would be what I was doing. And talking with many of you, hearing from people here locally who are feeling pulled to start to step more into their power, step into more self-expression, I recognize that it's not as easy for many people. And that's why this challenge is going to be coming up. And I'll share more about that. But let's get into the first question. How about? So the first question I have here is, how do I deal with imposter syndrome when I don't feel good enough to be visible? Now, the one thing I want to mention is a lot of these emotions, feelings, thoughts. Hi, Tahira. Nice to have you here. These thoughts and feelings, in this case, imposter syndrome, I would say these all kind of fall along the lines of like the shadow, that aspect of ourselves that everyone has. It's like those nitty gritty, like dirty, secretive behaviors that at least we try to keep them in secret and hide them. We try to pretend we don't know what they are, that they exist in our life, but they are there and they're going to be there for everybody. Like, everyone feels unworthy. Everyone feels like they're not good enough. Everyone feels like they're an imposter. And what I could say is this imposter syndrome. Usually, when I recognize it in my own life, it's because there's a change happening or I am coming into a place of reinventing myself. It's like there's a part of me that is feeling a pull into a particular, I want to say like an energy dream stream, a certain way of living life. And it's like it becomes uncomfortable. And it's this emotion or the part of our ego, even we could say, that's trying to keep us comfortable, keep us in the old way, keep us small, however you want to perceive that. So this imposter syndrome, it can lead us to feel like, oh, I don't know enough. I'm not an expert. I don't have enough practice in this particular field that I'm feeling pulled towards. Or, whatever. It could be something around your looks, like, oh, no one's going to want to look at me if I'm on camera, or no one's going to want to hear my voice. It doesn't sound like, I don't know, like Adele or something. I was trying to think of someone who I think most people think her voice is really beautiful. And so we start to kind of chain ourselves into this imposter syndrome and not really make any movements because we're constantly comparing ourselves to others. So something that has shown up for me and that I've been practicing, which like maybe some people wouldn't agree with this, that imposter syndrome, when it shows up, for me, it's because I'm like witnessing people around me or in my life that like I feel like a major comparison energy. And I find it fascinating that there's certain people who kind of stir that energy up for me more than others. The first thing about that I would say is usually the people that stir that up tend to be like those powerful healers, right? So they're showing you the mirror, like they're reflecting back at you something. And so it's about like kind of finding healthy doses of what that might be. But the issue with social media, I would say, especially Instagram, this is why I don't really go on there. This is just my view, is there's just there's just like too much. There's too much being overexposed by this comparison energy, by people due to the algorithm doing the same thing that we feel called to do or show up as. And that comparison energy starts to show. And we can keep ourselves small. And so if it helps you, taking healthy doses of the Instagram time or looking at certain people's channels or pages or whatever the thing might be. If it helps you to remove those people, this is something, again, some people will be like, well, why? You're just avoiding. I don't know. Like maybe you have to use your intuition around that. But there's people I've heard of, they're like, yeah, I had to delete and remove following from certain people. I just felt this comparison that was then bringing up more of the feelings of imposter syndrome, feelings of not being good enough. And then what you can do is if you unfollow, some people will restrict folks completely to cut all ties and then see what happens. You'll just start to find your own natural groove. You start to realize like, oh, okay. And then, the encouragement I really think is because I believe we aren't meant to live in fear or to feel like we can't be in particular places or around certain people. It's like, okay, now how can I work through this? I've moved through an energy here. I feel like I've leveled up a bit. Now, can I feel safe or comfortable around certain people? And have this imposter syndrome kind of, I guess, heal. But at the same time, again, everyone has it. It's going to show up no matter who you are, what like degree of the work you've done in your life, how successful you are. Everyone feels that way. And I like to think when I feel like I'm not good enough, especially around particular people, especially people who are doing the thing that I feel like called to do, or it's similar in some vein, then I recognize, wow, that's because I am seeing what's potential for me. And that's a beautiful thing, right? That someone can mirror that again for you in your life. So that's just a bit of how I kind of deal with the imposter syndrome, talking to that part of me that feels like not being good enough, talking to the part that wants to not do a thing because it's like, well, I just don't have it in me, be gentle with yourself. Okay. Hi, Roger. Roger Washington. I want to say, are you from Washington? I haven't really asked that. Anyway, I feel like you maybe said where you're from. You don't have to share that if you don't want. Okay, next question. And again, if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. So I want to share my work, but I worry I'll be too much. How do I overcome this? You guys are going to be like tired of me probably by the end of this. Well, what do you think the answer is? If you have created something, let's talk first. Like, what's creation or sharing your work? If something's coming through you, whether it's a book, a musical like tune you've created, an idea or a project, a group, a course, what other things, like a piece of pottery, like whatever, it is literally endless, the things we can create. Tarot cards or cards, some little electronic device that you think is going to help save the world. Maybe it's some type of singing bowl. Like, it can be literally anything, everything. New Jersey. Okay, thanks. This creative experience is why we are here on this planet. Each of you watching have something that you want to bring into creation. You are co-creating with Spirit. Spirit uses you as the vessel in this physical world to be able to bring things forth or collaborate with others to bring things forth. Like, I probably would have no idea how to do this. I don't have a science background like that. Not saying I can't learn it, not saying that I'm an imposter, but who can I work with? Who comes into my life that then is an engineer, is some type of scientist, is some type of, frequency expert, knows how to convert and program something like this. There are things that we feel called to bring into this world. And that's what I mean by share my work, okay? If it's making a video, if it's putting that post out onto Instagram or onto whatever social media you use, there is something that's like kind of bubbling up inside you, and that comes from Spirit. It wants to use you to help, I think, repair the world, this tikkun olam, as they call it in the Kabbalah, or repairing, bringing an evolution to the society, to the world around us, and to our inner world as well. And this need to share it, we think it's too much. But I just want to say, what if Thomas Edison thought the light bulb was too much, right? What if any of these people or the things in the room that I have right now, what if the person who created that had thought, oh, no. Well, then what happens is we don't have that magical creation that needed to come through. Or usually what happens is multiple people get the idea to create something, because it's like Spirit, I think, kind of just rocket shots these I don't know if that's a good term to use, but kind of puts these ideas into people's heads. And it's like, okay, who's going to come to it first? Who's going to take the action to do it first? And so I feel like recognizing that sharing your work, sharing your gifts, sharing your abilities, your voice, sharing the things you want to create, those are never too much, because Spirit put it in you and wants it to be. And it's like you're doing Spirit a service doing that. Now, this could come up to some people well, there are people out there that want to share negative things. I've been listening or coming across videos that I think are just kind of negative. And I just unfollow those people. Those people aren't for me. But in my opinion, that still is valid, and it still is needed in terms of creation, in terms of sharing and self-expression, because it's part of the whole polarity or spectrum of existence, right? So that question of how do you overcome this is recognizing really, truly that there's a reason you're supposed to do it, that Spirit's using you, that this is kind of your role, okay? And if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it. And I don't know what happens after that karmically. I'm not saying you're going to burn in hellfire because you didn't do your thing. No, but I think spirit's like, okay, next time, are you going to do the thing I asked you to do? So there's no right or wrong way really of doing it. So are you willing to share and be okay with it might be too much? And usually when it's too much for anyone or the world, which a lot of really innovative ideas are, it's because it's just people aren't ready for it. But give it time, right? And you may not see it in your lifetime. That's the hard part, I think. I think of like Vivaldi, which I've talked about before, in the what do you call it? Four Seasons Overture. That to me is like the most beautiful piece of music. And like to me, I'm like, oh, if I was back then when he existed, when he first came out of it, or out with it, I would imagine I'd be like, wow, this is beautiful. But no, it wasn't. People didn't want to engage with it. It wasn't until like centuries later in this modern time that people are like actually tapping into his music, which is kind of unfortunate. But this is just how it is. We don't know the bigger workings of spirit. So we can't say it's too much. We can't say it's not enough. We have to just trust the process. Okay. Thanks, Roger. Roger's already like promo. Hey, Andrew. Happy Monday, Moon Day. Nice to see you here. Yeah. Okay. So those are our first two questions. Let's see, what else can I answer here? What if I lose people, friends, family, followers, when I start expressing myself authentically? I mean, it's going to happen, you guys. This is the inevitable part of being you. The people you thought were your best supporters, the people who you thought had your back, tend to be the ones that don't. My parents will not even touch my book. Okay. They're like, that's like, no. And I've had to work through that, you know? So what if you lose people? The question here might be as a follow-up is, who are you to gain when you start to express yourself? I can tell you what happens is you start to bring in more people that see you for who you actually are. And this adds to the ability to show up and share your story and share the beautiful stuff that wants to come out of you. And sometimes those friends, sometimes those followers, family members, they turn and they can do really negative things. Or after time, they start to open up and realize and be supportive. Like you just never know. But if we are acting from a place of doing things only because we want people's approval or acceptance, that's just like it's like a disaster waiting to happen. And I don't know about you, but that's pretty much how I've operated a lot of my life, is just do this, say this, even though it's not honest, and people will be okay. You know, and I'm not an expert at all in this. I would say, like, I still struggle with like sharing certain things because it's just like, oh, it's not the time, maybe, you know, and I haven't worked through really, is that something I want to talk about? How will people see it? You know, but I think I do a pretty good job on here. And to me, too, this is about embracing that shadow and light aspect of ourselves. Being yourself, being your truest, authentic self means that you don't hold back, right? And there might be times where you lose people because they don't want that or they want you to stay small. Oh, and I like this idea. I don't really know how true this is, but I think I mentioned it on lives before. It's kind of been floating in my mind lately, is that idea of the crabs all in the bucket. And as a society, we're all these crabs in a bucket. And usually society, these crabs, they want to keep everyone safe in the bucket. So if you as the one crab that's adventurous enough to try to get out, and I guess they've done this, like this is what crabs do, the other crabs will pull you back in. They'll try to keep you small. They'll try to like say some harmful things to try and avoid you from stepping beyond that comfort zone. But I can tell you that there's so much, and this is something we're going to talk about in the 5-day challenge next week, is this idea of your divine wealth nature. That aspect of you is that true self that's just living its divinity and living it in a way that's so abundant and like pure because it's you exactly as you're meant to be. And to me, that's like the most important part. That's why like we're here, because you being that divine wealth nature is going to be what the world needs, what heals the world, repairs the world. So yeah. Sweet. Oh, hi, Golden Lily. Yeah, I like that, Roger. Like, we're all here, and wherever you are on your journey, even if you aren't someone, like I said, who feels like being seen is something you even care about, I think everyone would have benefit of joining this challenge. I'm going to get into a bit of the details in a bit about it, but you do what you need to do for you, and I hope even just answering these questions today can kind of help guide you to everyone, obviously, along your path of being seen. So the next question was like, what if I get negative comments or judgment? It's kind of the same, but like, I know another YouTuber here, like a couple other people, and she was saying like what her partner, YouTuber, collaborator does is every time he gets like a negative comment, he'll block the person, and then he'll respond saying like, oh, you must be really fun at parties. And the person can't respond back. I'm sure many of you have seen, like, sometimes, especially doing card pulls, like you get a lot of negative sort of like people telling you need to have Jesus in your life and shit. Kind of like I'm feeling like as I continue to grow, I'm going to have to develop ways to navigate negative comments or judgment. But I've definitely had it. And like, the thing that I think is the most beautiful part is when I'm like becoming more authentically myself, like, or really shining as that. Maybe usually I'll share a video about a topic that I've kind of been like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. Or I'll word something in a way that I'm like, it doesn't feel like comfortable, but like I know I want to say it. And then what will happen is someone will comment exactly on that thing. Like, it's like spirits bringing those people, for me, again, a mirror to see, are you sure you're okay to say that? Are you sure you're okay to be yourself? And I just like have gratitude to those people for being that mirror, and not taking it personally, because oftentimes the people who are saying negative things are the ones that aren't doing the things to be put out into the limelight, I would say. Or they're maybe masking something. But everyone's experiences are different. You got to just keep moving on, because judgment, criticism, negative comments are a huge part of the online world, huge part of running a business, sharing your story, being up on a stage. You might get booed. Can you be okay with that? And know that it's not a reflection of yourself. It's not a reflection of who you are. Okay. Greetings from Russia. Hello. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. I don't read Russian. Maybe I need to learn. Aptem is how I want to say it, but I could be wrong. Maybe I need to like look at that. I haven't really studied much of the Eastern European Russian dialects. Okay. So how can magic, energy work, or ritual help me release this fear? Ooh, this is a good question, because there's so many ways for us to move through this fear of being seen, whether it's therapy, coaching, working in a group with people, doing shadow work. Like, there's so many aspects. I would definitely say shadow work's one that supported me. This idea of like, how can it help? Like, magic is, in the definition of Crowley, Aleister Crowley, a famed occultist, is that it's like our ability to change our reality to conform with our will. The thing we want to see happen, we then do some things. It's not usually like that, but sometimes maybe. And the reality changes based on what it is that we are intending. And so that is, to me, ritual work, energy work, magic. It's an intention that you are setting. Magic can look so different. We're going to be tapping into some rituals, some different ways in which we call upon different energies, whether it's planetary energies, full moon, new moon stuff, the different planets, the different spirits, different angels that exist who have specific role to help you in particular areas. This is like magic. It's about shifting your reality. And so if being seen is something that you've been struggling with and you want to shift that, well, then I guess you can release the fear. The thing is we get to see parts of ourselves, right? We see the parts of ourselves. And this is where I think people get scared of magic. I know I definitely have. There's times I've done ritual where I'm like, I shouldn't have opened that door. right? It's like I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to actually see who I am, to see the shadow part. And to me, that's where the fear is that most people have about magic, right? They say it's evil or dark, but it is dark because it's the dark part of themselves that now they are revealing. So it requires courage. It requires a willingness to see, or at least to be open to seeing. And we get to do the ritual, the practices in a way that's going to be gentle, okay? Because sometimes I think people think, oh, it's got to hit me and like completely off rail me before I know the thing. But it's like, no, there's ways to do it, keep ourselves safe. And that's kind of what this container of this 5-day challenge will be. Some of the ways that like I've used rituals and practices and mindset shifts to kind of help myself with being seen, I mentioned, was like the shadow work. Hi, Delilah. Nice to see you join us here live. Yay. So shadow work on my own, journaling, working with like a shadow work facilitator. I have like a lady here that I do a lot of my shadow work with. And working on my solar plexus has been a huge, huge one. This like sun energy, this bright energy, and working with like just the sun in general. Maybe some of you have seen, I've been using, I think I have a card here that has that symbol. I'm going to see if I can find it. The circumpunct symbol of the sun. This to me is gold. Like, just meditate on this symbol and things will change for you, because the sun doesn't hide itself from being seen. It doesn't care if it's too bright. It's like, deal with it, put some sunshades on or whatever, like go inside. That is, I think, ultimately, I put it away. This is what we are all being called to be, is our individual suns shining brightly, unapologetically, not giving a fuck if we're like shining too brightly for others, okay? Hi, student sis, nice to see you. Yeah. Oh, you guys brighten my heart. Thank you for being here. I really am looking forward to these calls every week, so thank you. Because like, that's the thing, like you could talk and share and no one can listen. And that's another part of like judgments, negative comments, or losing people is, can you still be willing to do it even if no one's listening? And when you start anything, trust me, that's usually how it is. And you go through cycles of having people listen and being willing to like take part in times when they won't. But you have to still just recognize, like, this is your work you have to share. This is a piece of you that needs to come through. Be willing to do it, okay? Some other ways that I've like shifted my energy, I'd say the Healy, which I'm like really, when I got this little device, it was like, oh, they try to like get you to sell it all the time. And I left all those group chats because it was just too much for me. I don't like putting my power into, especially a physical object, let alone like cards even. I'm like, I'm very much like, this is me. But it doesn't mean there's things external that have been created that can help us. And the Healy, this like high frequency device, I've been using this a lot lately. And yeah, it's interesting to me how it like can help shift my energy, help me set intentions and create affirmations on how then I can step through these fears, how I can step through the things I want to create. And I don't know, everything is energy. And I guess this little thing is something. So if you want to learn more, I think there's a link in my the description. And then also just working with the Shem HaMephorash, the 72 Names of God. The book's there. If you want to get a copy, an ebook, paper copy, hard copy. I personally like the hard copy because it's like nice to hold. It's got a bit more like substance to it, but the other copies would be great. And it's a great way to learn about who you are as you relate to the divine. These like 72 aspects of God that exist and the powers that they hold, the ability to shed light on the places where you are holding yourself back, where you could maybe like brush up against uncomfortable edges. I don't know. To me, when I was thinking about like what really has shifted these past few years, it was that. And yeah, I just feel really grateful that I came across it. I just, if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, as with anything, you just got to trust the process, okay? Since it says this theme for me is one of my life challenges. Yeah, and I think you're not the only one, since that's why we're here. And you may want to go back to the beginning of the live after and watch the recording here. Because yeah, this is something, and that's the next question. Does this fear ever go away? No, I don't think so. Maybe it gets a little quieter. I'd say like some days it just gets really quiet, and then all of a sudden it'll come back with a vengeance, because new levels, new devils, right? So, yeah. Ooh, I'm glad you got the ebook, Andrew. Thanks for that. Ooh, you have to let me know how it goes. Ooh. And maybe one day we'll do like a 72 name challenge, a 72 name exploration or working, and like tap into it as a group. That would be so cool. I had to take a little break after the 5 years of learning, daily workings, and writing. So, but yeah, I'll be interested to see how that goes for you. Hi, Anaya. Yeah, nice to have you here. Okay, so how do you know if this challenge is for you? And like, I guess like, what is this challenge? I still don't really have a name, you guys. It was kind of like the fear of being seen. Then I'm like, well, the being you challenge, being true to you. I don't know. It'll have a name eventually, I'm sure. But for now, this is us working in a format of 5 days where we are going to break through those blocks of whatever fears, anything that's holding you back, past life, present life, I want to say future life even. Future promises, future stories you've told yourself, future stories that people have like maybe told you, prayed for you or whatever, so that you can really step into your most authentic self and start sharing your voice, expressing yourself in the ways that you feel called, and also do it in a way that's abundant and feeds you financially, energetically, joyfully. All this stuff is super important, okay? So we're going to be starting March 24th. And how do you know it's for you? I want to just say, like, really, if you're feeling the call, then it's for you. If you're feeling like, yeah, like this is something I've been facing and now it's time to maybe learn something new, like this is how we continue our evolution, okay? So if you've had fears of not being good enough, if you've had fears of not wanting to be seen or heard, if you've had fears or like been making yourself play smaller than you are or not take the limelight, I want to say, then this might be for you. Okay. If you've been wanting to share your voice, your art, your story, maybe you're wanting to create something and you're just not really sure the next step, like almost like you're being held like captive, I want to say, then this is for you. Okay. If you're wanting to start a YouTube channel, like if you're wanting to get your voice out there, a podcast, like just have more of an online presence, then great. This will be for you. And if you've been like trying to show up, but you maybe just find that you like burn out really easily, maybe you feel guilty because you're like, I'm not very consistent and everyone says you have to be consistent. Well, like, yeah, I definitely invite you to come because we're gonna, look at some of that stuff. Yeah, Delilah, that's a great question. What is the cost? Okay, what's the cost of the membership? The joining, like if you join the Zellator membership, the first base membership, I think it's $4.99, is it not? I'm pretty sure, but you hit the join button, you'll join. So to me, it's like, that's what, less than Starbucks coffee, at least here in Canada. How come Starbucks is so expensive now? Oh my God. I remember once I lived in Kuwait. I think this is after the war, like when, anyways, or the Iraq war, all that stuff. And Starbucks kind of had like the Starbucks there had a lack of supplies. And they were specifically running out of caramel drizzle, which I loved, just saying. And the guy's like, oh, you want extra caramel drizzle? He's like this Arab guy. He's like, I'll give you more, I'll give you more. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, this way, and like horizontal. And I was like, frick, yeah, like give it all to me, please. This is like my life. Anyways, he like does it, then like we go to pay. I don't even know why that was. Did I not pay? Or I looked at my receipt and it was like an extra, I guess what would that be in Canadian? Like it was like an extra $2.50 he charged me for like extra caramel drizzle, which I was not impressed, but it was delicious. So anyway, Starbucks is really good. Thank you, Golden Lily. Okay, there's comments. I was in tears when I tuned into this. Delilah. Yeah, it might move things. Maybe this is all that you need to hear. Like let it be what it needs to be. I have 11 things on the numbers. That's cool. But yes, that's all. I think you're saying about I think it's $4.99. And I'm like, and there's like another membership, But yeah, the $4.99 membership is going to get you that. So if you want to have access, my plan too is to share pieces of the sessions, maybe depending on kind of what happens into the general, just because like I don't want it to just be kept only. But then it will be available on my website after for those folks. So you can join membership and leave the membership. People do that often. You know, I'm not holding anyone there. So, but yeah, maybe the question is, okay, what can this add value to my life? Or what does this want to contribute? Am I willing and ready to look at this and explore it? And you're going to get out of it what you put in, okay? There is, in a way, some homework in that, like, you will have to be doing some reflection or things will come up. Will you be willing to look at it and just trust? Even if you don't know what to do with it, you know, there'll be times to ask questions in the lives, because I'll be going on a live stream in the like membership portal for those 5 days, the 24th to the, oh my God, 28th. And we'll just see what happens. But we'll go over ways in which you can figure out maybe why you've been kind of holding yourself back. You know, is it fears of rejection, fears of failure, fears of being seen, the fear of abandonment, the fear of embarrassment, maybe those past life things that have been showing up and oftentimes influence us. Could even be like ancestral pieces that want to be healed, right? We're going to talk about how you can shift this behavior, reduce some of that overthinking, embrace your full self so that you can courageously be seen, courageously share your voice. And I don't know if you saw my post today of the lion from Wizard of Oz. And it's just like, that's kind of how we are when we have the fear of being seen. We're like, it's like, oh, I need this like courage. Oh, I'm just like so not strong. But like when it comes to those moments, like I said, like Michael Fassbender in front of the camera, it's like, but you are, like, you have shown up so many times. And when you tap into that, like, and get out of your head or just recognize that you're touching onto those feelings of not wanting to be seen or wanting to be small, yeah, like it's just life changes. Okay. So we'll talk about what consistency looks like, ways to maybe figure out your own kind of routine and step into this path in your own unique way. And then, like I said, there's going to be at the end, we're going to be doing an activation of like this divine wealth nature, some realizations for you around who you are, what you are worthy of, capable of, deserving of, what the universe wants to bless you with. And like, I for whatever reason, like I'm supposed to show you guys this picture. So I think I'm going to do that real quick. I just here. Because I keep looking at it. Don't mind my messy space. Some of you might not have seen this, but this is a painting that a girl I know painted. She was doing like a chakra series. And as soon as I saw this, like, thank God she posted it on social media, just saying like, hey, I'm working on this next piece. And I saw it and I was like, this is for me. Like, I have to have this. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen. I've never bought like real art, you know, like a original piece of art. But this to me is that divine wealth nature. And she is an Empress being who has the within her and behind her, backing her. And I just love this solar plexus, solar energy. So whatever that might mean for you, I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, let's go back to this. Okay, a little behind the scenes there, folks. Now I'm like completely moved over, which is whatever. Okay, so let's pull a card and let's just see what the card wants to say for us as we end here. I told myself it wouldn't be on too long. You see too, you guys, I've been trying to sleep all day pretty much, not feeling good, going through hot and cold shakes or whatever. And I'm like, how am I going to do this live? I should just reschedule it. When am I going to reschedule it? Like, I'm like, I need to do this. I said I was going to do it. I want to do it. I'm excited to do it. And here I am. I don't really know where this energy has come from. So I just want to speak that for some reason. Maybe some of you need to hear that today. But what's a card for this collective as we kind of step out? Ooh, Delilah, Practicus. Sweet, thanks. Ooh, I'm excited. Yeah, maybe you'll check out some of the other videos in there. Oh, and I should say in the membership, like I'm adding more stuff, but there's also like weekly readings in there, like kind of card pulls, because I think that's cool. And more to come. So, one enchanted evening, the perfect night. I don't know what you need to do tonight. Maybe you need to sit down and see this stars you. See you as this intersectionality, I guess, of all the energies that exist. And that spirit is shining through you, like that picture I showed. Okay. That there is something really divine about you. What if you are this enchanted miracle, I guess, that you've been waiting for? That's simple. Like we think so much it's got to be someone else. But what if this is actually you? Delilah, thank you for joining, taking part, being willing to say yes. And to those of you who are like sitting on the fence, those of you who are just like, well, it's not really for me, that's okay. But I want to invite you, whatever you choose, to just recognize that this divinity is you and to ask yourself, like, what can I add to my life? What direction is calling me? What step or actionable, like aligned action step I can take so that this enchanted, magical life is one that I'm walking on daily. And it will show up for you in whatever aspect it needs to. And it can look like whatever you feel called for it to look like. There's like, oh, this is the beautiful thing about the online world, is that there's like millions of different infinite ways for you to explore yourself, to step into who you are. And I'm seeing this as like the wedding night, like coming into a union with yourself. So tonight might be a great time for you to do that, this moon day. The intuition is high. Okay. So, ooh, I so need this family and vibrational energy. Yeah, something I'm sitting with lately, Delilah, thanks for saying that, is this idea of we are the five closest people that we surround ourselves with. And this is not at all to be like negative, but I've really been sitting with the idea of like, who am I like surrounding myself with physically at this point? And how can I expand that? Because I've kind of been, yeah, I've just been like recognizing the isolation at times and the people who seem oftentimes drawn. So I appreciate all of you because to me, this is what this is like me surrounding myself with people who are like encouraging, like Roger, seeing you like, hey, encouraging people and like saying hello to each other. You guys, like this to me is what I'm talking about. And we're seeing each other because we're willing to see ourselves. So, yeah, I think that's all I need to say. I'm going to end it on that. May you have an enchanted night, folks. And yeah, maybe I will see you inside the challenge container next week, Monday. So, oof, it'll be fun. Okay, have a great day. Bye.